Today, I invite you to remember a truth so ancient, so divine, that it was whispered into existence before time began. You are a creator. You are not a victim of circumstance but a master of word and will. The tongue in your mouth is not flesh alone. It is a wand, a sword, a divine instrument through which worlds are built or broken. Speak, and you send forth power. Speak, and you plant the seed of destiny. For the spoken word is your wand. You see, the words you utter are not idle echoes in the air. No. They are energetic commands sent into the substance of the universe. Every word is a decree, and the law does not sleep. Whether you say, I am rich, or I never have enough, the law answers, yes, and so it is. Let the weak say, I am strong, not because they lie, but because they call forth the truth that lies dormant, waiting to be awakened by faith. Now listen closely. You cannot entertain lack and expect abundance. You cannot affirm sickness and walk in health. The mind must be purified, and the tongue must be trained. For out of the heart, the mouth speaks, and what the mouth speaks, the world reflects. So I ask you, what are you saying about your life? Do you declare the victory before it comes, or do you bow to appearances and call them final? Let me tell you something, beloved. Appearances are shadows. They are illusions conjured by fear and memory. But the truth, the truth, is eternal. And it can be spoken into being. The divine mind waits on your word. Not your worry. Not your wish. Your word. Speak with boldness. Speak with love. Speak as one who walks in step with infinite power. Do not whisper your dreams in doubt. Declare them in faith. Say it with me. Everything I desire is already mine by divine right. I am aligned with truth. I am divinely guided, abundantly supplied, and fearlessly fulfilled. And so it is. But hear me well. Your word must be followed by expectancy. To affirm is not to beg. It is to believe. Once the word is spoken, rest in the assurance that it is done. Do not dig up the seed with anxiety. Trust the law. Let the word work while you wait in peace. Every morning, before the world tells you who you are, remind it. Speak your truth. Affirm your path. Cleanse the temple of the mind and declare, I am the beloved of the divine. My steps are ordered. My path is clear. I walk in grace and glory. Make this your practice, your prayer, your power. Because when you speak from the soul, in alignment with truth, all of heaven moves to fulfill your decree. And the world bends, not to your will, but to your word, spoken in faith and wrapped in love. So go forth, mighty one. Watch your tongue, for it is your staff. Guard your words, for they are sacred. Use your voice not to describe the life you have, but to create the life you desire. Speak your reality into existence. And let the power of truth set you free. Amen. And so it is. You cannot hold two thoughts in the same space. Just as light cannot dwell where there is darkness, truth cannot take root where falsehood lives. The law of substitution teaches us that the mind must be cleansed before it can be renewed. If one continues to speak of poverty, sickness, failure, or fear, even while desiring health, wealth, and success, they create a conflict in the consciousness that blocks all demonstration. Affirmative language is not a mere mental exercise. It is a spiritual command. The moment you speak a new word in alignment with divine truth, you are casting out the old and planting something sacred in its place. Every word we speak carries vibration. It either uplifts or diminishes, creates or destroys. The words we casually utter in daily life often carry far more weight than we imagine. I can't afford that. I never get lucky. I always mess things up. These phrases may seem harmless, but they are incantations, affirmations in disguise, and they reinforce limitation, reinforcing the walls of the very prison we seek to escape. When the tongue becomes undisciplined, the mind follows. And when the mind is left to wander among the ruins of old beliefs, it constructs a life that mirrors those beliefs with absolute precision. But when you begin to choose your words consciously, deliberately, you take back the reins of your reality. You begin to train the subconscious mind, which has no sense of humor, no ability to reject what is spoken. It only accepts, absorbs, and acts upon what it hears most frequently. The subconscious is like a fertile field. If you plant weeds, you'll grow weeds. If you plant truth, you'll reap miracles. It responds to repetition, to tone, to certainty. When you speak affirmatively, saying, "Everything I need is now appearing in divine order," or "I am always divinely guided and protected," you are reprogramming the inner landscape. Slowly but surely, the old fears dissolve. The new truths take root. You cannot curse and bless at the same time. You cannot declare your prosperity while secretly entertaining thoughts of lack. There must be alignment, harmony between the heart, the tongue, and the belief. That is the secret. The tongue must become the servant of the higher self. It must refuse to speak words that do not serve the soul's expansion. Even in the face of difficulty, you must choose the higher word. Not because it is easy, but because it is creative. Because it moves the situation toward transformation. Because it affirms your authority over appearances. This is the great spiritual discipline, to be vigilant with your words. To substitute fear with faith. To deny the power of limitation and affirm the presence of infinite good. With every spoken affirmation, you tear down an old wall and build a new doorway. The law responds without fail, and life reshapes itself according to the design you speak. Affirmative language is not merely positive thinking, it is spiritual architecture. And when the structure of your speech aligns with the truth of your being, your world transforms accordingly. You are a channel through which the divine expresses itself, and your spoken word is the method by which you command the invisible into form. The universe operates under a law that is impersonal, exact, and unfailing. It responds not to emotion or desperation, but to clarity, conviction, and command. When you speak with faith, you activate this law, and when your words are spoken in alignment with truth, they carry the full authority of the divine behind them. You are not a passive observer of life. You are a co-creator with God, and your affirmations are the instructions you give to the creative intelligence that shapes all things. To affirm is not to hope, nor is it to plead. It is to declare. A true affirmation is not a wish whispered into the wind. It is a decree spoken with spiritual authority. When you say, "I am divinely guided," you are not trying to convince the universe of your worth. You are recognizing and invoking a truth that already exists in the realm of spirit. You are standing in your divine inheritance and calling it forth. The spoken word, when infused with faith and understanding, becomes a spiritual law in motion. The divine mind does not question your command. It does not evaluate whether you are worthy or unworthy. It simply responds. If you say, "Nothing ever works out for me," the law says, "So be it." If you say, "Everything I touch prospers and succeeds," the law again replies, "So be it." This is not fantasy. This is the eternal law of cause and effect operating through speech. Your word becomes the mold into which the substance of life is poured. It cannot do otherwise. The universe is bound by its nature to follow the pattern you provide it. So the question is, what pattern are you offering? Are your words casual, filled with doubt, shaped by past disappointments? Or are they conscious, deliberate, and aligned with the highest truth of who you are? Every word carries vibration, every sentence sets energy in motion. When you speak from alignment with the divine mind, you do not speak as a beggar but as an heir. You do not hope for crumbs, you command abundance, not arrogantly, but righteously, knowing it is your spiritual birthright. The law is swift and impartial. It does not hesitate. The moment your affirmation is spoken in faith, the wheels are set in motion. And even if no visible change appears immediately, know that the unseen machinery has begun to shift. The right people, the right opportunities, the right ideas are already moving toward you. Your part is to continue speaking the truth, to affirm the vision, and to act in harmony with what you have spoken. This is the power entrusted to you. It is the power that spoke the stars into existence, and it is alive in you now. When you speak, speak as one who knows. Speak with the full conviction that your word does not return void, but accomplishes that which it was sent forth to do. Words must be spoken with faith, backed by expectancy, and released in peace. To affirm without faith is to utter hollow sounds into the void. It is not enough to repeat words like a parrot and hope for results. The power of the spoken word lies not merely in the syllables, but in the vibration, the energy, and the consciousness from which it is spoken. You must believe that what you say is already accomplished. The spiritual law does not respond to effort, it responds to certainty. When you declare, "I am now receiving my good," you must say it not as a question, not as a hope, but as a truth that is already unfolding, even if your physical senses see no sign of it yet. Expectancy is the magnet. It is the invisible pull that draws your good from the unseen into the seen. When you speak with expectancy, you are saying to the universe, "I know it is done. I know the way is prepared. I know the answer is here." Just as a seed planted in fertile soil needs no coaxing to grow, only the expectancy of sunlight and rain, so too do your words, once planted in the subconscious, begin to germinate under the warmth of your faith. You may not see the root breaking through the soil, but life is stirring. Movement is taking place behind the veil. But after the word is spoken and faith is activated, there must be release. This is where many falter. They speak the word, they feel the surge of belief, but then they dig up the seed with doubt, with worry, with endless questioning. When will it happen? Is it really working? What if it doesn't? These thoughts cancel the command. They interrupt the process. The divine law is perfect, but it must be trusted to operate in its own way, through its own channels, in its own time. You do not need to know how the good will come. Your part is to speak, believe, and let go. This is the discipline of detachment. It is not indifference, nor is it apathy. It is spiritual confidence. It is the quiet knowing that once the word has been spoken in alignment with truth, the result is guaranteed. Detachment is peace. It is rest. It is the soul's assurance that the machinery of the universe has already begun to turn, and that nothing and no one can delay what is rightfully yours. You do not run after the manifestation. You allow it to come, as surely as the sun rises, because your word has gone forth with power. To affirm is to command reality into form. To expect is to open the door for its arrival. To detach is to keep the door open without fear. These three, faith, expectancy, and release, must work together. They are the holy trinity of manifestation. Without one, the others lose strength. But when united, they become unstoppable. So speak boldly, expect joyfully, and let the results unfold with divine timing. The law never fails. Daily affirmation is not a shallow repetition of pretty words, nor is it a passive activity to soothe the mind. It is a sacred spiritual discipline, a conscious act of aligning oneself with divine truth. Every time you speak an affirmation, you are declaring that the spiritual reality is more powerful than appearances. You are choosing to place your faith not in the seen, which is fleeting, but in the unseen, which is eternal. Affirmative language is a tool for spiritual transformation. It rewires the mind, purifies the heart, and calls forth the divine pattern buried beneath years of fear, limitation, and conditioning. The spoken word shapes your internal world long before it reshapes your external one. When you say, "I am divinely guided," or "everything I need now flows to me with ease," you are not just repeating positive phrases, you are breaking mental chains. You are replacing old stories of struggle and failure with new declarations of power and purpose. The more you affirm divine truth, the more your subconscious mind begins to accept it as law. And once accepted, it begins to operate accordingly. Your decisions change, your perception shifts, and the very vibration of your being rises to match what you have declared. The practice of affirmation is a spiritual hygiene, a cleansing of the inner atmosphere. Just as the body must be bathed, so must the mind be washed with truth. The world is loud with noise, fear, doubt, scarcity, and confusion, and if one is not careful, these vibrations attach themselves to the consciousness. But when you speak the truth aloud, calmly, firmly, and consistently, you drive out those false impressions. You anchor yourself in the unshakable foundation of divine principle. Each affirmation is like striking a tuning fork that recenters you in alignment with the higher laws of spirit. It is not enough to affirm when life feels easy. The true power of the practice reveals itself in the storms, in the waiting, in the unknown. That is when the affirmation becomes a lifeline. When you declare, "I walk in faith, not by sight," even as appearances crumble, you are aligning with the creative force that transcends all temporary conditions. And slowly, surely, the outer world begins to reflect the inner declaration. Affirmative language, when practiced consistently, becomes a way of life. It alters your posture, your tone, your choices. It influences how you speak about others, how you speak about yourself, and how you interpret every event. You stop narrating your life through the lens of lack and begin to tell a new story, one of unfolding good, divine timing, perfect guidance, and limitless possibility. You begin to trust the power of your own voice as a sacred channel for truth. This practice is not about pretending. It is about remembering. You are not creating truth, you are declaring it. You are not forcing change. You are allowing divine order to emerge. Speak daily. Speak with intention. Speak as if heaven hears you, because it does. And the more you speak the truth, the more your life will mirror it.